What's up, Leafs fans? Welcome to Leafs Digest. Now, before we get into this one, before we dig right into the news coming out of today's practice, I do want to remind everybody that Josh and I are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So every single subscriber we get along the way here counts, it matters, and we appreciate it all. So if you're not subscribed to this channel yet, subscribe right now. And if you don't want to do it right now, you don't want to click the button that's up in the top corner of the screen, I understand, but make sure on your way out of this video, as you're closing it down, after you like, after you comment, and after you send the link to your friends, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It is the most important thing you can do, and we appreciate every single subscriber we get. Now let's dig right into this one. So after the abysmal game that came out Saturday night, we losing to the Pittsburgh Penguins 7-1, while the Penguins were missing key players like Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, just to name a few. It was an embarrassing effort from this team, and I think that the overall conclusion from Leafs fans, the media, the team itself, regardless of what you think, there's one generic response to that game. Something needs to change. Now, the fan base is almost divided in terms of there needs to be trades, there needs to be firings, there needs to be new people brought in. There just needs to be line changes. But right now, I think it's too early into the season to completely hit panic button and go full fire sale, making trades, firing coaches, firing GMs. I do think there needs to be a tiny bit of a leash, considering that I think this team was built pretty well. And I think, personally, the biggest problem we've seen so far out of this team has been effort and consistency. This team goes up against any other team in the NHL like to a T in terms of skill. I don't think there's any team in the NHL that could compete with the Leafs, or just like the Leafs couldn't compete with on a skill basis. I think the Leafs are one of the most skilled teams in the NHL. And then as far as the roster construction goes, I think Kyle Dubas has done a pretty good job of creating a diverse, versatile lineup that can compete in many, many different ways. You look at the construction from lines 1 through 4. This is the first time in the last 5 years that we've really seen a checking line, a line that can actually play consistent defense. You look at David Kampf, he's pushed this team, his face-off percentage, he's pushed this team to 56.5%, second in the NHL in terms of face-off percentage. We're winning draws, we're killing penalties, like this penalty kill all the way up to 85.17%. That is tied for 7th in the NHL, top 10 in the NHL in penalty kill. Like, these are good defensive numbers. We're even goals allowed, 3.17, not the greatest, but we're still seeing some type of progression, and that goals allowed is just going to really, really be impacted by the 7-1 loss the other night, and then again the 5-3 loss on Friday night. Those two games are really going to hurt that number, so you can't look at those two specifically and look at that number too much. But as far as the defensive construction, the physicality, it's all being improved through management and players that this team has brought in. The skill level, again, is top-notch. The biggest problem has been the effort on a night-to-night basis. You look at that game against Pittsburgh, that has nothing to do with we are a bad team. That has nothing to do with the Toronto Maple Leafs being a bad team. This has something to do with chemistry or effort of these players and the way what they're doing every single night. Like, showing up to that game and showing up and having all these late starts. Like, again, the Pittsburgh Penguins jump out to an early lead. We're down 1-0. That's 5 of 6 games to start this season. It's just terrible. It's not something you can ever accept as an organization, accept as a team, accept as coaches or management. It's not okay. This is something that needs to be fixed starting there, and that begins with the effort. It begins with coming prepared, coming ready to play on time, and starting from the opening puck drop. Now, talking about change and what can be changed here, Josh proposed some line changes in the last video that he did yesterday, so if you haven't checked that out yet, make sure you go and check that one. He dives into it a little bit more in terms of what he thinks should be changed and why he thinks those should be changed, as well as his reaction to that 7-1 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins on Saturday night. So again, if you haven't checked that out, while you're all on our page, subscribing to this channel, because I know that if you're not subscribed yet, that is what you're going to be doing after this video. Make sure you check out his other video as well, where he does talk about what he thinks the line should be changed to in that video. But I do want to say Mark Masters did come out today after Leafs morning skate and announce some of the new lines that were skating at practice this morning. Josh was pretty bang on. I will break down these lines here. You can see I've got it up on the screen. Bunting, Matthews, Nylander, that's what Josh said he wanted to see. Kerfoot, Tavares-Marner, again what he wanted to see. And then there was only one minor change between his lines and what the lines were out of practice today, and that would be he had Richie, Kampf, Kasha, and instead of Richie there, it was a swap between Engvall and Richie. So Engvall actually gets a spot on that third line with Engvall, Kampf, and Kasha, and then obviously he had Engvall, Spezza, Simmons, but what it was at practice today was Richie, Spezza, and Simmons. So let's break down these new lines and what we think we can see from them going forward. So first of all, Nylander leads this team in points. He's got 5 points in 6 games. He's the leading assist getter on this team. He's got 3 assists, and he's second in goals, tied for second in goals with 2. Who else is he tied with 2 goals? Michael Bunting. Michael Bunting is also a guy who has 3 points in 6 games. And Bunting was a guy that throughout the summer we thought, maybe this guy could get himself into a position on the first line, play with Matthews and Marner. Well, now he's getting another look on this first line with a guy he's been playing well with in William Nylander. So you put them out on a line. Both guys are actually playing pretty well. They're getting some points. Nylander scoring goals. Bunting's got himself a couple of goals through the first 6 games. Now you give them an opportunity to get a guy like Austin Matthews jump started. Playing with a guy like Tavares, he's obviously a guy who can score a lot of goals. We saw it in his season when he did play with Marner and he got his 40-goal season. But Austin Matthews, we all know, is the best goal scorer on this team. And for Bunting and Nylander to have an opportunity to showcase their playmaking, Bunting's aggressive, kind of nose to the ground, bulldog style of game, getting in guys' faces, it could be just a bit of a shakeup that Austin Matthews needs on his line. We all expected Nick Ritchie to be that kind of guy, and I don't really think that he truly is. And many people have commented on these videos saying the Bruins got rid of him for a reason. The Bruins got rid of him for a reason. Perhaps you're right. This is the 3rd team that he's been on in his short NHL career so far. Maybe he just hasn't found it yet. Maybe he hasn't been in the right setting. Maybe he hasn't been told the right things. Who knows what the situation is? But I mean, I can't sit here and say that those people who are commenting that in our videos are wrong. So far, you've proven to be right in terms of they got rid of him for a reason, because he hasn't really shown us any reason why he should be here. Maybe it's just been a bad combination of Marner not playing well, Matthews coming back new, and he hasn't been able to get any chemistry going. Maybe he's a little timid in terms of being afraid to lose his spot. He hasn't really been in a first-line position before, so maybe he's not prepared for that. Maybe we see him go onto the 4th line here and excel. But as far as the first line goes, I'm excited to see what these guys can do tonight, because I strongly believe Nylander has been our best player through the first 6 games. His stats, his points, his goal production has kind of shown that. 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points through his first 6 games. It's good for him. And then, again, Bunting, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points through the first 6 games. Maybe these guys can get Matthews going. If Matthews comes out flying tonight, both these guys have been playing really well. Nylander are being kind of our best player. It could be something that gets that going. Now you move to the second line. This is really the only other line that I want to kind of analyze, other than I'll talk about Richie a little bit. But the Marner, Tavares, Kerfoot line, I personally believe that Kerfoot does deserve a chance up in this top 6. Kerfoot has been playing really well, and then throughout the playoffs last year, he was one of our best players in that playoff series. He played on the wing, he played with William Nylander, and he looked really good. He looked to be able to get some things going. Now, if you put him into a top 6 position around some high-level talent, maybe this is a guy who can spark something out of them without even realizing it. He just brings some speed. He's a good NHL player, and he's looked more comfortable on the wing than he has at center throughout his time in the NHL. And if you put him on a line with a legitimate center in John Tavares and a guy like Mitch Marner who could at any moment get going, it could get them all going, because Kerfoot does have some kind of goal scoring ability. He is a decent playmaker. He's pretty responsible defensively. He's just a good NHLer. He's not a guy that stands out on either end as any kind of elite talent, but he's a good NHL player. And that's something that I mentioned on here before, is guys who become good NHL players. That's kind of what he is. He's a guy who's fairly reliable. He's not going to blow you away in any stretch of the imagination, but he's a guy who can be serviceable and play within this lineup in a strong capacity, have a positive impact on the team. So the biggest part of this lineup change here would be Marner back playing with Tavares on the second line. I think this alleviates some pressure from him a little bit here. And I think it's in a bit of an unconventional setting. Like, you go from playing with Austin Matthews to playing with John Tavares. John Tavares is no scrub. But when Marner played with Tavares the last time, that was when Mitch Marner had an incredible season. I believe he had 100 points that year. John Tavares getting 40 goals. Like, it was just a magical season all around. Then they changed things up, and he goes up with with Matthews, and he excels there as well. But now things aren't going well, and it's just a bad combination all around. Getting back with Tavares could be a more calm situation. Tavares' demeanor, the way he carries himself, the way he continues to play every single night, he will never cheat you on effort. John Tavares is not a guy that you look at and say, oh, he didn't give it his all tonight. I think Tavares continues to bring that energy, and I think if he plays there in a calm role beside Marner, both of these guys could get going together. They could get that chemistry back of what they had before, and you put Kerfoot there, a guy who's just going to work hard, shift in, shift out. That could be a good opportunity for these guys to calm down and start to get some production back. Now, the last guy I want to talk about, because that third line I think is pretty much set. I've been happy with Kampf and Kasha grabbing a goal in the Friday night game. Kampf obviously bringing this team's face-off percentage up and being a very reliable defensive player. And goals look pretty good with them in the first couple games we saw them. So I'm pretty happy with that third line altogether. Now, the fourth line, Ritchie, Spezza, Simmons. Man, that's a big demotion for Nick Ritchie. You go from playing on the first line with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, start to get sat, you're benched, you're missing time of the game. Now you're being taken off that line, and now all of a sudden you're moved down to the fourth line playing with Spezza and Simmons. I think that this is an interesting thing to look at here because Jason Spezza leads this team in goals. Now that may surprise some people, but he does. He's first in scoring on this team with 3 goals. And he's second in points with 4 points, right behind William Nylander. So although it is one thing to sit here and say, yeah, he's being demoted, but he's playing with the second highest point getter on this Leafs team right now, the highest goal scorer that this team has. So it's a demotion, but it's not a demotion. He's going to play less minutes and be in a less responsible role in terms of he's not required to get guys like Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner points and pucks. He's just going to have to play safe. He's going to have to play smart. He's going to have to be responsible. And this may not be the opportunity for Nick Ritchie to get himself back to the first line by any sort of means here. But I do think it could be a good opportunity for him to establish himself and get comfortable playing with this Leafs team because he's playing with 2 very reliable, consistent veterans who bring effort every single night. And then a guy like Jason Spezza, who is 3 goals, 4 points through the first 6 games. This is a veteran guy playing on the fourth line who's second in team scoring. And then you go to Wayne Simmons. He has 3 points in 6 games here. Like Wayne Simmons, 2 assists and a goal. This is a fourth line that's been contributing. So if Ritchie can go down there and just pitch in here and there, support those guys, take the advice from Spezza, take the advice from Simmons, follow their lead in terms of effort and hockey IQ, this could be a good opportunity for him to just get himself back into the swing of things and start to get comfortable around this team. Maybe it was just too much pressure to start the season and just jump on that line with Matthews and Nylander. Or Matthews and Marner, sorry. Now you got Bunting, Matthews, Nylander. Things are really back into a blender here. We're really shaking some things up. Kerfoot over to the wing with Tavares and Marner. Engvall, Kampf, Kasha, Ritchie, Spezza, Simmons. Things will be interesting in tonight's game. The only other change that we saw is Liljegren comes out. Dermott goes back in. Just trying to shake things up all around. Jack Campbell does get the start tonight against Freddie Anderson, who in a matchup to watch out for. Freddie Anderson is 4-0 to start this season with the Carolina Hurricanes. We do face off against the Hurricanes tonight, October 25th at 7 p.m. Leafs fans, let us know what you think about these lineup changes. Is there anything else that you guys would have wanted to see? If we were just keeping just these players, are these the lines you want to see moving forward? How would you shake up these lines? Did Sheldon Keefe and the management do the right thing here? Should they have let them be? Let us know in the comments, but Leafs fans, we will see you guys after tonight's game. Before you do that, make sure use like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Every single subscriber we get along the way counts. We appreciate all of you guys for following along, for supporting this channel. It means the world to us. But we will see you guys tonight after the game, 7 p.m. against the Carolina Hurricanes and Frederik Andersen. Leafs fans, it's a dark, gloomy time. But let's not give up on this team quite yet. We will potentially get to that point, but it's not the time right now to give up on this team. So Leafs fans, let's keep believing.